new radio drama series, The Death of Mary, Queen of Scots.
We now return to our program, The Life of Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary Stuart was a ruler loved by her people, but like most monarchs, there was a fault that people just couldn't accept. Mary was a Catholic. She had been raised in France while Scotland became Protestant, and she was out of place in her homeland. And here she comes, onto the main stage. Your Majesty, thank you for being on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so please, tell us about yourself. Let's start with the date of birth.
Well, I was born in Scotland on December the 8th, 1542.
And how old were you when you took the throne?
Strictly speaking, I was made queen when I was a mere 6 days old. However, I was raised in France and was surrounded by regents until I married.
And you were married 3 different times, correct?
Yes, but that is all rather complicated. You see, I'm Henry VIII's great-granddaughter, and he wanted me to marry his son Edward. However, this match was broken by the Catholic Church because they wished for Scotland to renew its bonds with France. That was when I was very young, and I was moved to France at the time.
And what did Henry VIII do after the match was broken?
He was angry about how the church did not let him do as he pleased, so he took his anger out on Scotland, and there were raids throughout the land.
Those raids were known as the rough wooing.
So I grew up in France, speaking both French and English, learning, reading, writing, and when I was old enough, helping with the affairs of my country.
So your first husband was French, I assume?
Yes, I was betrothed to the young Dauphin Francis II. We were married in Paris, April the 24th, 1558.
So did this marriage make you both Queen of Scotland and France?
Yes, it did. Now I was a monarch in 2 countries. That's not something very many people get to say.
So did you and Francis rule well?
In all honesty, we didn't get much of a chance to. You see, he died of an ear infection in 1560. We had only been married for 2 years, and him only king for 1.
What did you do then?
There was only one thing I could do. As a widow, I mourned my late husband and returned to Scotland to rule there.
How did the people react to your return?
For the most part, they were happy, I think, but they liked that their queen was in the homeland. Only 2 problems remained.
And what were they?
Well, one being that I was a woman. The other was that I was Roman Catholic, while the rest of my country was Protestant.
Did the people not accept you?
Well, my half-brother, Lord James Stuart, said that I would be allowed to worship as I wished. So I felt safe, and I praised as I pleased.
Why don't you tell us a bit about your reign?
Of course. I think I was a successful ruler. I had advisors, of course, pointing me in the right direction. For a while I was alone, only 18 years of age, unmarried and with no children.
Did you marry anyone else?
Yes, I was set up with my second cousin, Lord Henry Darnley.
Second cousin?
Yes, and unfortunately we were married, but he did sire my first child.
Unfortunately?
Yes, he was a strange man, and it was a marriage simply for political bonds between England and Scotland. I did not love him in the least.
But you did have a child with him.
Yes, but even James could not bring us together.
I'll jump right to the point then. Did you take part in the murder of Henry?
When Henry died at Kirkle Field, everyone thought I had arranged it.
Well, if you wish to not speak about it, then we will go on after this short film.
You are Mary, Queen of Scots?
I am.
Episode 2 of The Death of Mary, Queen of Scots can be heard on Radio 4 almost immediately.
Welcome back to our interview with Mary, Queen of Scots. We left off with Mary briefly discussing the murder of her second husband, Lord Henry Darnley. Your Majesty, after his murder, what did you do next?
Well, I was once again a widow, and happily so. 3 months later, I married the Earl of Bothwell.
It is widely believed that the Earl of Bothwell was one of the main conspirators in Lord Darnley's murder. How did the people feel about this new marriage?
Well, this was my third husband, and the people did not like him any more than they had liked Darnley.
Did your marriage to a murderer make your subjects distrust you?
Yes, so much so that they rose up against me.
What was your next move when your people revolted?
Well, their army overpowered me, and I had no other logical choice than to surrender. I was then imprisoned, and I was forced to give the crown to my son.
What happened to Bothwell when you were captured?
He ran away to Scandinavia. He was arrested and imprisoned there.
How long did you remain in prison?
Only for a year. I managed to escape and I fled to England to ask my cousin Elizabeth for help.
How did Elizabeth take that?
Well, England was still a Protestant country, so when Elizabeth heard that I was running from a Protestant revolt, she believed me to be a traitor who would turn her over to the Catholic Church.
What did Elizabeth do to you?
She held me in England for 19 years. Unable to return to Scotland and not allowed to explain that I was not committing treason, all I could do was wait.
Wait for what? Death? Freedom?
Just to wait and see what would become of me. I did not know what Elizabeth wanted from me, but her advisors told her that I should be put to death for treason to the British Crown.
So she had you executed?
Yes, her final verdict called for my death because she felt threatened and because she thought I was a traitor.
What day were you beheaded?
It was February the 8th, 1587. It was a very painful process. As your history books say, it took more than one chop to kill me. I was 43 years old, with only one son, and stripped from my title.
What is your final resting place?
It is the vault of King Henry VIII's chapel in Westminster Abbey.
Thank you for being with us today. Your life was very interesting, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you for having me.